Well, hey everybody. With the holidays coming up, I really wanted to do a recipe of the basic homemade white bread that I make for our household staple. I am in a class, like a sourdough small group for my church. I don't know why I did this. It's called Our Daily Bread. And so we're learning how to use sourdough starter. And I know that's like really a big thing for people. But in a pinch, if you need a basic white bread recipe with minimal ingredients, this is my go-to, and it comes out really good every single time. It's a lot easier than sourdough. You don't have a starter to maintain, right? You just use some bread instant yeast, and this container can stay in the fridge for like up to 6 months, so I can just use it over and over and over again. If you're gonna make this like one and done for the holidays, you can just get the yeast packets. But I will put the recipe, like the amounts, up here as I'm going through them. I just want to go through the ingredients and then we'll get started in baking. Total prep time for this should be, it's about an hour to rise if you use the rapid rise. It's about another 30 to 45 minutes to let it rise for a second time, and then it's baked for about another 30 to 35 minutes, and then a little bit of cooling time. So 2.5 hours, you're good to go, and you have some really good fresh bread. Okay, so the ingredients for this recipe are as followed. 2 packets of rapid rise yeast, or you can use, like I said, I have this bread machine, Fleischmann's, that's refrigerated. 1 packet is about 2 1/4 teaspoon, so just double that up for the recipe. 2 1/4 cup of warm water. It says about 110 to 115 degrees. What I will do is I'll warm the water up and test it with my wrist. If it's too hot, the yeast is gonna be killed, but if it's nice and warm, that's a pretty good temperature. 3 tablespoons of sugar. Nothing special here, I just have great value. Again, same thing, salt, 1 tablespoon of salt. And then we have 2 tablespoons. This recipe calls for canola oil. I honestly have not used canola oil in a long time. I will go between olive oil, whatever we have in the fridge. Right now we do have some avocado oil we have to finish up, so I'm gonna be using this. Honestly, it does not make that much of a difference in terms of taste. And then 6 1/4 to 6 3/4 cup of flour. Now, you can use bread flour. I mean, honestly, I just use all-purpose. Again, super simple recipe. That is it. 6 ingredients, some of which are staples you already have in the household, and it's gonna make 2 nice big kind of sandwich-sized loaves. So, of course, that's something you might have to pick up for the first time you're baking this, is the pans, $5, $7 at Walmart each, and then you'll be good to go. So let's get started. All right, so 2 packets of yeast is actually 4.5 teaspoons of this rapid rise bread yeast. So we're just gonna measure that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my little half teaspoon here. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. That's the other thing I like. Sourdough, I feel like it has to be exact grams or it's gonna screw it all up and it's not gonna come out the way it's supposed to. This is a lot easier. You can kind of round things and it won't make a big difference. Now, as I said, for the water, I will warm up the water and make sure that it's hot enough that I can withstand it, but obviously not like room temperature, a little bit warmer than that. I'm just gonna turn on this sink. I'm speaking before I do this because I know the water is gonna get in the way of the microphone. So let's fill up 2 1/4 cup of warm water. Perfect. Now this is only 2 cups, so I just kind of guess and go a little bit above the 2 cup mark, the 16 ounce. That should be about good. Again, perfection is not key here. So basically what I'm gonna do is pour this into the yeast mixture and then just stir it up until it dissolves and it starts to bubble a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Basically, you just don't want any granules left on the bottom of the bowl. So if you stir it and you see some, just keep going until it's all melted. Next up is your salt and your sugar. So again, it's gonna be 3 tablespoons of sugar and 1 tablespoon of salt. Basically, same thing. You wanna mix it up and dissolve it into that warm water mixture with the yeast. Again, same thing. Lastly, you're going to do your 2 tablespoons of oil. Like I said, my original recipe was canola. I have used olive oil, and tonight I'm actually just using avocado oil. It really won't make too much of a difference in the taste of the bread when it comes out. Now you can mix the oil, but it's gonna separate again, because if you've ever put oil in water, it doesn't really stay together. The next step is going to be to mix in the flour. Now this recipe says like mix in 3 cups and then add 1 cup at a time. I'll usually add each cup, mix it, you know, until I have all 6. Towards the end is when you really can't get the whisk through it, right? So I'll go in there and just mix it a little bit. It's funny because I got a sourdough bread mixer. I probably should be using that instead of my regular whisk, but it is what it is. I'm trying to use the rest of what's left over in here to show you what this looks like. Again, just early stages. It is super wet, but the more you add flour, the more this is gonna firm up, and then eventually you just have to use your hands. Honestly, that's like an extra 1/4, so we'll just finish that up. And now I just need 3 more. Again, as you mix this, it will get thicker, and you will start getting clumps in your whisk. You can do what you want with it. Some people use this kind of sourdough whisker for bread. I'm assuming I can use it for regular bread too. I purchased it because I was in that sourdough small group, but this is kind of just how I've done it with this. As it gets thicker, I have actually switched to my spatula and just kind of mixed it like that because that's my next step before I get my fingers in there. This week, I did not think about the fact that I have tips on, so we have very long nails. That will get all sorts of mix in here. It's not a big deal, it's fine. It's fine. 4. I can't wait to grow this channel so that I can upgrade my camera setup and you can see this and I don't have to keep moving this camera. As you can see, this is 4 cups. It's starting to get thicker, right? And I'm gonna have to go in with my hands soon and start kneading this completely. Let me add the last 2 cups of flour. 5 and 6. Now I will just go in. I did wash my hands before this. Also, got to take off my wedding ring so that doesn't get dirty. But you can go in there, and if you put dry flour on your fingers before you do this, they won't stick as much. And if you get a lot of flour stuck on your hands, you can also do that. Put a little bit of dry flour and rub them, and they should kind of come apart for you. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm taking my hand, and I'm just mixing. If you want to show them in the bowl. Just like that. And basically getting rid of all the dried flour. Sometimes I do have to add a little bit more water, right? In this case, it looks like there's a little bit more flour. So I will probably add a tablespoon of warm water and just continue this until it is completely mixed in well. Okay, so once you have this mixed up pretty well, but what you're basically going for is making sure this all looks even, right? You see the like dry spots, we're gonna make sure this is all mixed. Even loaf of bread where all the ingredients are mixed, it's not too claggy. Is that the right word? So this is pretty good, but what I have to do now is I have to clean out the bowl. So I'm actually gonna lay this on my countertop, put some flour down so it doesn't stick. We're gonna rinse out this bowl, and then we're gonna coat this bowl with some spray oil and then lay it in there to rise. You can absolutely use a different bowl, but I just like doing this so that I don't have more dishes to do than necessary. Again, rinse it out, dry it off a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we just take a spray oil, it's a virgin olive oil. Just coat it like you would when you're gonna bake it. And then take your loaf And just put it right in there. I will coat the top as well. This is what you're looking at. And so what we're gonna do now is, this is my hand towel, which is fairly clean. And I'm just gonna run it through the water a little bit to get it damp. And then I'm going to wring it out. You see how it has like water in the middle? Just gonna wring it out a little bit so that basically the towel is just ever so damp. And then we're gonna cover this and let it rise for an hour. We will be back and see you in an hour. Okay, so it has been 1 hour, and if we take our towel off, as you can see, our dough has doubled, probably more than doubled in size, so that looks really good. This part, you can do it on a big cutting board if you have one. You can also do parchment paper if you don't feel like doing it directly on the counter, but I'll just put a little flour on the counter, and then I'll put a little flour on top of the bread. And basically we're gonna pull the bread out and we're going to punch it down. Again, if you put a little bit of flour on your hands, this is the fun part. And now I basically am just gonna fold it over a little bit, and then I'm gonna cut it in half. So again, estimation does not have to be perfect. Now I basically have 2 loaves, and you're gonna kind of shape those into 2 loaves. So there's 1 for you, and then there's 2. Easy as pie. And now I'm gonna take my 2 loaf pans. Again, you could get these pretty inexpensive online, Amazon, Walmart, that kind of thing. And just spray the pan. And then what I'm gonna do is put each loaf directly into the pan. Now, this second rise is going to be in the pan. So we put both of these in the pans. And then I'm just gonna take the same exact towel that I had that was already damp from the first round and lay it over these 2. And it says let it rise 30 to 45 minutes. So what I will do is set a timer for 30 minutes. So after the first 30 minutes, I'll preheat the oven to 375. And while it heats up, it's gonna rise the last 15 minutes. And then we are going to pop them in the oven. So we will be back. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
Hey everybody, quick check-in. It has been 30 minutes and this is what our bread looks like now. The only thing I'm waiting on is that we actually have some Cheddar Bay biscuits in the oven because Mike really wanted them with our matzo ball soup tonight, which is what's for dinner. That is actually a basic boxed recipe that we got. We've made it twice now. It's delicious. So we're doing multiple things in this tiny kitchen. All right, we have our Cheddar Bay biscuits out of the oven. The soup is on a timer. The oven is now at 375, so it's time to throw in our bread. Real easy, real simple. Look how much that rose the second rise. The second prove. I'm gonna throw these in here. And then just 30 to 35 minutes. I always like it a little more golden. Alexa, set a timer for 35 minutes. Got 3 timers going because there's a lot happening in this kitchen, but we will be back to see the final product. All right, we had our delicious matzo ball soup and the bread timer just went off. It has been in the oven for 35 minutes at 375, and check out how nice that came out. Both of these. So I usually let these sit in the pan for a couple minutes and then I will swap them over to a cooling rack, let them cool down completely, and we already have 2 loaves for this week, so I'm probably just gonna freeze these up, especially because we just had Cheddar Bay biscuits. I don't think we need to eat any of this bread tonight. But that is how to make a simple white bread recipe from only 6 ingredients.